Oscar! In your bed, mister. Come on, in your bed, over there. No, no. Oscar's decided it's time to play. In your bed, mister. In your bed. What's the matter? Huh? You want me to hold you? Okay. Oh, okie doke. Oh, he wants to be on camera. He's a drama queen. Are you happy? All right, so welcome back to another episode of Basic Baking on the Scran Line. I'm Nick, and today I'm going to be sharing how to frost cupcakes. I'm going to be showing you how to actually frost them in different styles, but I'm also going to be showing you guys some very, very, very basic things about how to frost that I know that most of you already probably know, but I know that some people don't know these things, so I'm going to share them anyway. All right, so Oscar's decided he needs to join me. So I'm going to take you through the basics and then I'm going to put him to bed. So the first thing you want to do is actually, well, to frost cupcakes, you need a piping bag and a piping tip. So I use disposable piping bags. These piping bags are biodegradable. Oscar is licking my fingers. They're biodegradable, guys, so don't come for me. These are environmentally friendly plastic piping bags. And I also use reusable piping tips. So I have so many different piping tips. I probably have about 1,000 piping tips, but I'm going to be showing you about 5 or 6 different piping tips, and these are the ones I would recommend you getting if you want to learn to start decorating cakes and cupcakes. Pop your piping tip through and see if it's at that halfway point. If it's not, snip a little bit off and then check it again. So now that ours is perfectly prepared, here is how you fill your piping bag up. Now, this technique is great for macaron batter especially, because macaron batter is a lot thinner than frosting, and it's great for piping cake batter or cupcake batter as well. So you're going to pop it into a tall cup and you're going to sit it in there, and then it's just going to hold the piping bag for you as you fill it up. So I just use a small spoon or a spatula to fill it up with the frosting up to about halfway. You don't want to overfill your piping bag because we need space to actually twist the end really, really tight so that frosting doesn't come out the end. You only want it to come out one end. Okay, I'm gonna pop Oscar to bed and then I'm gonna show you guys how to hold a piping bag. Okay, Oscar, off to bed. Come on, mister. Okay, holding a piping bag. When Anthony, my partner, and I first got together, I automatically assumed that no one knows how to pipe the way I know how to pipe, except that I later learned that Anthony actually used to work in a bakery. That was his first job. We were piping cupcakes one day together and I said to him, why don't you have a go piping these cupcakes? And so he's piping the cupcakes, but he's holding the bag on an angle. And I'm like, I don't know, he's a teacher, I'm not a teacher really. I just teach you guys exactly what I know. But I started yelling at him without actually knowing that I was yelling. And I said to him, hold the piping bag straight, hold it straight, straighter. And long story short, the cupcakes looked great. But the reason why you want to hold your piping bag straight is because you get better results that way. So my first tip is hold the piping bag straight. Now, the way I was taught to pipe, and Cupcake Gemma has a really interesting, different way of doing this, is to hold the end of the piping bag in your writing hand. So I'm right-handed, I write with my right hand. You're gonna hold it like you would a tennis ball. And that's gonna be the hand you use to squeeze the frosting. Your other hand is your spare hand. You can use it to guide the piping tip or to just, I don't know, like do jazz hands while you're frosting. I don't know. It's not really important. That's the way I was taught, and that's the way I'm teaching you guys. The first tip we're going to be using is the closed star tip. Now, I really love this tip, but I don't really use it too often. I love it because you get these really deep grooves when you pipe with it, but I actually prefer the open star tip because it looks a little bit, I don't know, in my mind it looks a little bit more like a soft swerve swirl, and I just like that look better. But my favorite way to use the closed star tip is in a swirl. Start in the center, go around once, and I actually like lots of frosting. So you can do a low swirl if you like, if you don't want too much frosting. I go around 3 times, and when I get to the top, I stop squeezing and then lift up. So let me show you that a little bit closer. Now onto the open star tip, my soft serve swirl frosting technique. So again, starting in the center, exactly the same as the closed star tip. And when you get to the top, it's important to stop squeezing and then lift off. Now, we're getting to my favorite piping tip, the French star tip. This one's also known as a 6B piping tip or an 8B piping tip. The 6B is a little bit smaller than the 8B. I actually prefer the 6B when I'm piping macarons, as in the frosting, like filling the macarons, or I use the 8B when I'm doing cupcakes. So I'm not going to be showing you how to make a swirl with this one. Instead, I'm going to show you what is called the double donut swirl. So imagine a donut. The donut shape is round and in the center there's a hole. So you're going to begin frosting in the center of the cupcake and then go around once in the shape of a donut and then around directly on top of that first donut and then kind of lift off as you're still piping. Now, one tip with this technique is that sometimes, like when you're standing and looking down at your bench while you're standing and frosting, it can actually look like you're still going directly on top of that first donut, but when you lift the cupcake up, it looks like you've gone a little bit too in on the second top donut. So just keep that in mind while you're frosting, and if you make a mistake and it doesn't look perfect, you can always wiggle the frosting off the cupcake and start it again. So it's no big dramas. Now, this frosting technique is great because you can stack things on top of it. So I'm just gonna show you stacking a Oreo on top, and then you can pop like sprinkles or whatever you like. I actually use this technique with different piping tips as well. So it's great with a round tip, and it's also great with the open star tip. And the 8B or 6B French star tip. I actually use this on a lot of my freak shake cupcakes, so you'll see me using this technique or this style before. Now, another really quick and kind of pretty technique, which is really easy, is kind of what I call the bulb technique. Now, typically you would use a round tip for this technique, but it actually looks really cool with the French star tip as well. It looks kind of roughly, and you can put sprinkles on top and it looks really pretty. The last one I'm going to show you with the 6B tip, which did I mention that the French star tip is my favorite tip? You can do what I call the little spike frosting style. So you're going to pipe littler bulbs around your cupcake and then one in the center, and then go directly on top of that and finish with a third one on top. And that is great if you want to make something that looks a little bit edgy or cute. You can use different piping tips for this technique as well. It's great with the round tip or the open star tip. You can use the closed star tip. It's pretty much good for any tip. But you can use different colors as well, and I just think it looks really cool. One of the most popular piping tips that you should definitely have in your kit is the 1M tip. This one is great. I'm going to show you two different techniques. Now the first one is the rose swirl, and this one is a flat frosting technique. It's really easy. You start in the center and you're basically going around and around and around until you get to the edge of your cupcake, and you lift off as you're still frosting. So this one again is great if you want to make kind of like an elegant wedding style cupcake that looks like it has a rose on top. Let's move on to my all-time favorite frosting technique, what I call the signature swirl. The signature swirl is for those who love lots of frosting. You can make it a lower version, but I find it looks better when it's a tall bit of frosting on top of your cupcake. And it's all about squeezing out more frosting as you're going along. And what I mean by that is, instead of moving quickly like you do when you're doing a swirl, you're actually still squeezing and going slower, and it ends up giving you this ruffle technique which looks really pretty. It reminds me of like a ballerina skirt. I just think it looks really, really beautiful, and it's my favorite technique. Let's move on to the round tip. So the round tip is super versatile. A really, really quick frosting style is what I call the bulb again, just like I did with the 6B tip. It's basically where you start about a centimeter off the cupcake, and then you pipe a bulb and then just do a little swirl on top, and that is super easy. Now what's great about this tip is you can actually cover it in sprinkles, and it looks really, really cool. You just dip it into a bowl of sprinkles, dip the top, and then cover the sides, and it looks amazing. You can also use this tip for the swirl technique as well. So same deal as your open and closed star tips. Starting in the center, I like a lot of frosting, so I do 3 swirls, and then when I get to the top, I stop squeezing and lift off. Now I want to move on to showing you some really cool piping techniques. These are a little bit more advanced. And the first one is the triple bulb stack. Now you can use a Wilton 6B piping tip for this one, or you can use a round tip. So you start at the center, and it's basically just piping bowls on top of each other. So you start on the bottom, and then you stop squeezing, move up, and then squeeze again, stop squeezing, move up, and then squeeze a final 3rd time. And this one again is really great with the round tip, and I just think it looks really, really pretty and unique. Let's move on to a piping tip, which I don't actually use that often, but it looks really, really cool, and that is the petal tip. Now, this petal tip is great for creating buttercream roses and flowers. And if you guys want to see me make a video tutorial on how to do those, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make a video for you guys. You can actually do really, really cool, easy frosting techniques that look really impressive with this tip as well. You're basically holding the tip with the pointy bit facing up, and then you're starting in the center, and you've got your cupcake in one hand, and you're turning as you frost and moving your hand up and down as you frost. Then when you get to the outside, you stop squeezing and lift off. The other really cool technique is, it kind of reminds me of a brain, like it looks a bit like a brain, but I find this technique looks really, really pretty. You're basically just piping zigzags, let's call it a petal zigzag technique. And you're piping zigzags on top of your cupcake kind of randomly until you filled up the top of the cupcake, and I think it looks really, really beautiful. So guys, those are my piping techniques. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in comments down below, because I really enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I've got a whole bunch of videos that I've uploaded in the basic baking series already. If you want to learn how to make frosting, in this video I used my American buttercream frosting and my Swiss meringue buttercream frosting as well. You can click up there to learn how to make those, and if you want to learn how to make beautiful, perfect cupcakes, click up there as well. I've got all of them compiled into a playlist for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next episode of the Scran Line. Bye. What's up, mister? You've decided it's time to play. Huh? Have you decided it's time to play? Huh, baby boy? Everyone can see you.